Hello, good morning and welcome. What a classic Spa view that is. Little wispy clouds overhead. The city of Spa, the town of Spa, and a damp track as we get ready for live coverage of FP3, round 3 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. In the pit lane, obviously already complaining that it's damp, is Louise Beckett. In the commentary booth, Graham Goodwin, Anthony Davidson, me, Martin Haven. Well, Anthony, it's damp, it hasn't rained in a while, it looks like it might be drying, so the engineers are all saying to their drivers, okay, wets or slicks? No, it's neither. Yeah, we don't have a tyre for neither, wets or slicks. Now, that's a change this year. There is no intermediate option. You can't really afford to be brave, can you? It's free practice.
Yeah, exactly. So they've done away with the intermediate tyre, like you rightly say, Martin. And, I mean, it seems like quite a big change, but in reality, in years gone by in WEC, at least, they were bypassing the intermediate tyre and only using the full wet, waiting until the circuit was dry, particularly a long track like this one here in Spa-Francorchamps, and going directly onto the slicks. And you've got, obviously, the option of different compounds, well, the luxury in different compounds in hypercar, at least, between the soft, medium and hard tyres. Yeah. So you'd go for the soft compound tyres on a drying track and completely bypass an extra pit stop of the intermediate. So here we are, round 3.
And this is the traditional warm-up for Le Mans. And I was speaking to Toyota a couple of years ago saying, you know, what's the deal with Spa? Spa, the deal is you just wrap the car in cotton wool and take it from here to Le Mans if it works, because you don't want to touch anything. Because it's high average speed, relatively low downforce, and it gives you a very good indication of what you need at Le Mans. But aside from that, Anthony, this is just a phenomenal driver's track.
It really is. So 7 kilometers, 4.3 miles long. This is pure race circuit perfection as it threads its way through the Ardennes Forest. La Source, turn 1. You got the pit lane exit on the exit of that corner. It's a safe pit lane exit, but a good overtaking spot come race day. Then the famous Raidillon and Eau Rouge section. You dive down the hill through turn 3, then up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, up the Kemmel Straight. Another great overtaking spot, and a corner that's really important to get right, particularly in qualifying that comes later today, is this final chicane down at turn 19. Watch out for track limits on the exit, and also a very tricky pit lane entry around turn 20. A brilliant circuit, and one that all of the drivers enjoy. And yeah, it's just spectacular views, whether you're in the racing car, in the pit lane, or one of the grandstands, one of the new grandstands as well. You can just see on the right-hand side of your screen, at Eau Rouge and at the top of Raidillon. Brilliant new grandstand. What a great vantage point.
And Graham Goodwin, another brand new one opened yesterday, which is, as they come out of La Source, down the start-finish straight, down the endurance pit lane, as we call it.
Before we get to that, we're just going to a quick word about this, one of our additional cars here, the number 3 Cadillac, and one of the cars that was in trouble yesterday, guys. A bit of a fire, I'm afraid, at the rear of the car. And this car's required a full engine reinstallation, with the engine being brought in from the team's German base overnight. We'll talk about another couple of cars that have been in trouble. We expect to see 37 of the 38 runners out this morning, with the 38th to rejoin in qualifying, we hope.
Jack Aitken, by the way, in that number 3 Cadillac, hasn't turned a wheel yet. It's wet now. He might not turn a dry lap until maybe, well, he probably won't do qualifying until the race. So really, that's a steep learning curve for poor old Jack Aitken in that number 3.
But going back, just before we go to green, going back to that point about the other new grandstand, we'll see that, I hope, as the cars sweep around and onto the track. It's opposite the endurance pits. We'll talk about the 38 car in a moment too. Fantastic spectator view all the way from the apex at La Source to the apex at Raidillon. That fantastic piece of track. We went up yesterday, Martin, to take a look from the new grandstand Raidillon. I think that is the best view in world motorsports. I can't think how that could be bettered. Absolutely amazing. And the new grandstand adds a further something like 4,000 seats here with the terracing that's been so far completed. Still more to come here from Spa with their redevelopments. I know some of the traditionalists don't like some of the things that have been swept away, but trust me, it's a significantly better viewing option than you've had before.
And the other news yesterday, which is good news for WC and for Spa, is that there is confirmation of another 5 years coming here. So until 2028, we will return to one of the world's greatest racetracks with some of the world's greatest racing cars. It's very good news all round.
Pretty amazing. But we're going to see this incident.
Yeah, so we just saw the 54 Ferrari in the garage, newly repaired, because this happened to it yesterday.
Now, the deal here is the 54 car was coming out of the pit lane. There are no tyre warmers, so everybody comes out slowly, and he was being protected, as the drivers were told was going to happen, by white flags, which denote a slow-moving vehicle. So that will happen whenever anybody's coming out of the pit lane. There's Thomas Floor talking about it. But his teammate in the 21 car just kept it fully lit over the brow, and the drivers are told to leave the pit lane and move onto the racing line, but they're all going to be doing it slowly. So this is something we have to be very aware of in free practice, but especially when we're in the race, when there's slews of pit stops, there will be lots of slow-moving cars as you come blind out of Eau Rouge. Well, Louise Beckett is down in the pit lane, and she has caught up with Francesco Castellacci.
Francesco Castellacci, we can see the 54 AF Corsa, and we've just seen the incident on the TV pictures from yesterday. Tell us what work the team have had to put into the car to get it to this point this morning.
Huge work, unbelievable work, because they stayed until 4 a.m. here, and only 1 hour sleep, and early in the morning they were again here, and look, it looks like new. It's the same chassis. The damage was big, because you know when you crash there in Eau Rouge, it's always a big one, and of course was not at all Thomas' fault. He was coming out cold tires and going up Eau Rouge, actually 5th gear, more than 175 kilometers per hour, so not slow, but the other driver just, I think, switched off his brain and just hit him, and not respecting the white flag, as Eduardo said, that the white flag, it's important when you see it, and you need to slow down, and just hit him. So big mistake from the other driver, and anyway, good thing is that the car is in all in one piece, and the guys did unbelievable job.
So you're all suited up. You're going to be going out in the car today?
Yeah, for sure, because we need to test that everything works. And I think like this we do, it's like a kind of shakedown for the car before the quali, that Thomas will jump in, and hopefully it will be good.
Well, good to see you back out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
We've got a bit of a delay to the start of FP3, but we'll stay with you, of course, live and free on YouTube this morning. Amazing job overnight from the AF Corsa crew to repair that car. They were very proud of the repair job and waiting for Thomas to turn up. I think he expected there to be a fair amount of race tape on that car. It looks pristine. Sadly, not the case for the 21 car. That car is toast. It's effectively in a bucket at the back of the garage.
The chassis, was it?
The chassis is beyond repair, and that is I believe that is the 51 car, the World Championship winning car from 2 years ago. There is a replacement car en route. We hope that will be here in time for qualifying, and that any work can be done in time for that. There is a penalty, though, for Diego Alessi, and that will be carried through to whatever the next track time is. So if they don't make qualifying, it will be served in the race, and it's a significant penalty.
The penalty is for the start of the race or whichever next race he takes part in. So if the car is written off, it will be carried over to Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lesson for all drivers. If you see a white flag out there, that means that there's a slow vehicle on track, and you don't know what vehicle that is, by the way, as well. It could be a tractor, it could be, whatever, picking up a car at the side, a recovery vehicle. You really don't know.
Don't second-guess race control. Don't second-guess them.
But also,
not there.
when you see a car going through Eau Rouge and you know it's on cold tyres, it's freshly out the pits, you have to take that into account. You just give it breathing space. It's FP2, and it's your teammate. The team should have been on the radio as well, saying 54 just out the pits, cold tyres, aware, and then you see the white flag and you put it all together, and if you just need a bit of extra capacity at that stage.
It's been a massively trying few weeks for AF Corse. Remember the 83 car, the roll that wrote that car off. That, by the way, was last year's championship-winning GT Pro car.
They're destroying all Ferrari's history, aren't they?
So we've had significant incidents for all of the AF Corse run 488 GTEs, but in this case, Thomas Fleur, completely innocent victim there, but amazing work overnight to get the 54 ready to go.
Do we think the root of this problem really is, though, the fact that they're on tyre warmers now? And I wanted, in a way, Louise, to ask that question. Would we have seen that incident if we had tyre warmers? Honestly, I can't answer that.
I don't know, is the honest answer. But all I would say is that was bronze driver on bronze driver, Ferrari on Ferrari, AF Corse on AF Corse. Something's gone wrong there with somebody's mindset, I think is what's worth saying.
Just looking at Esteban Guerrieri here in the pit lane. That car will serve a 10-minute stop and hold at the beginning of this session because Esteban ran into the back of the D station Aston Martin in FP1. So that penalty has been carried over into FP3.
And again, by the way, if that car had not been ready to go today, it would have been served to the race.
Yes.
And that would have been game over, effectively, for that team. It's the 28 car, the sole remaining Jota Orica after the 48 cars withdrawn, because, Anne, we've got another additional hypercar. It is another record for the numbers for hypercar this season. That will go further again at the Le Mans 24 Hours, and the team that you know well and love, I'm sure, here with the brand new Mighty 38.
Yeah, so the number 38 is back. Obviously, they were running the 48 up to this point in the World Endurance Championship, and here it is on screen. So Antonio Felix da Costa, Will Stevens, the winners of Le Mans LMP2 last year, of course, and Yifei joins that car driver crew.
Going to hear from Eduardo Freitas in a second, I think. Just quick question. Why 48 and now 38? Does that mean that 38 is a season-long entry so they can score points at Le Mans?
Exactly.
1 minute, under 1 minute to open pit exit, under 1 minute to open pit exit.
Precisely that. The 48 is a different class, does not score points, so that's why the differentiation.
Yeah.
Will Stevens' watch is on as Antonio Felix da Costa's out the wheel at the moment. They had a pretty successful FP2 actually yesterday. Bearing in mind this is a brand new car for this team, you know, who aren't used to running in the top category. They're masters of the LMP2 and GT categories. But this, yeah, first venture.
30 seconds, under 30 seconds to open pit lane.
First venture into the hypercar category for Jota. Really exciting times. The car looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
And yeah, like I say, turned quite a few laps yesterday. All three drivers getting some time behind the wheel.
Because although the car was handed over to them at Weissach just
10,
after Portimao,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. FP3 has started. The track has been declared wet. Cars with rain lights on in low mode. And please again respect track limits. White flags will be presented during the session, protecting any car exiting the pit lane.
there you go. Well, several things to take from that. The white flag, because cars will be slow coming over the brow in Rédillon, and you will be faster on hot tyres. And secondly, the track's been declared wet. Well, you know, you can see that it's wet. That's staringly obvious. But legally, unless it's declared wet, you may not use wet weather tyres. So at any time when the track might potentially need a wet, the race director will declare it wet, whether it's still dry and rain is coming or not.
And the wet tyres, of course, in this in World Endurance Championship, unlimited, unlike some other series around the world. So whatever you can pay for, the amount of tyres you wish to run in the rain is unlimited. So
yeah, that's a good point, actually.
So it's probably not completely fair for all teams out there, but I guess at the end of the day, it's down to the tyre manufacturer as well, how many tyres they actually bring to the circuit.
Final 60 minutes of practice before we go into qualifying this afternoon for Saturday's race here in Spa-Francorchamps. Don't forget, we race Saturday in Spa, and that's just to give everybody a Sunday to enjoy themselves, drinking lots of Belgian beer. Well, great view on board the Peugeot with Paul de Resta. It's interesting that the Peugeot looks a lot more composed here than it did at Portimao even, and certainly than at Sebring. The ground effect aerodynamics, which are unique to the Peugeot, you can get your lift drag coefficient window however you like. A lot of cars have done it conventionally with a sort of through airflow and a rear wing like you can see on the Toyota. No rear wing on the Peugeot, it's almost a pure ground effect car. But that needs a stable track, it needs a flat track. Ground effect works on Grand Prix circuits, and it should work well at Le Mans. You look at the Peugeot compared to everything else, you know it's been designed only to win Le Mans. Everything else is a byproduct, so that's their target, and that's what the car's being built exclusively for, whereas everything else looks a bit more adaptable.
It was, I mean, it completely makes sense to me, you know, that theory. I follow the same logic, but I posed that question to one of the top engineers at Peugeot, and when we were at Sebring, because the ride of the car looked terrible there, and he said, nah, not necessarily so. That's not, you know, maybe not completely the truth to it, but he didn't say I was completely wrong, at least, but it didn't seem as straightforward an answer. Riding on board that Toyota, by the way, I think they've forgotten to, or they've covered up the air pitot.
The pitot tube,
because it's wet.
Because it's wet and or cold, and what they don't want is icing. So I don't know whether it's still got a hole for it. The pitot tube is a little tube that actually comes from the aircraft industry that measures airspeed, because you can't measure ground speed. So, yeah, I couldn't see whether they'd left a cover on it to stop it being too cold and wet.
Yeah, definitely. It's either been forgotten, that's why it's got the bright orange tape around it.
Yeah, removed before flight.
Exactly, yeah.
Exactly.
Or they've done it purposely to stop it from getting corrosion or muck inside.
Looking here at United Autosports, Tom Blomqvist, one of two Blomqvists here this weekend, because the other one is his dad, Stig, the World Rally champion, who I was surprised to bump into at the hotel. Hello, what are you doing here? So he's just come to watch. Okay, so first few laps. We have a guest to introduce who we'll get to in just a second, but before we do that, Louise, I think we can try and get her to catch up with Michelin's Pierre Alves and just have a little chat about tyre selection and tyre choices. So he is down in the pit lane, as with all the Michelin technicians. We'll have a quick listen to what's happening with the number 3 Caddy, the new car this weekend.
Everything seems good, just steering wheel is slightly right hand down. And for some reason I couldn't get to the race page. It was on the mechanics set of pages, and even if I scrolled through, I couldn't get back.
Copy, we'll have a look at that. We're going to put you in the garage here just to have a look at everything.
That was Jack Aitken, his very first laps behind the wheel in Europe of the number 3 Cadillac. That car's been racing in the US. There'll be 3 caddies in hypercar at Le Mans, but the number 2 car has been racing up until this stage.
Yes, but not that one. Because this is a brand new car.
Yeah.
So what Cadillac are going to be doing from here on in, the number 3 car is here with a brand new chassis. That will be the car that races at Le Mans. Also here in the Cadillac garage are team members from Action Express. They did ask whether or not they could come and race here this weekend. Not space for them on this grid. And after this race, the whole Cadillac racing team will be decamping. There's Roger Penske in the Porsche garage, of course. Will be decamping back to Portimao for their first full European test. This is effectively, you know, a very live test, but be decamping down to Portimao for a test which will feature 1 car and all 6 drivers. On board now the number 6 with Laurens Vanthoor, and it gives us a great opportunity to segue into something I spotted down in the pits earlier this week. But I think before that we're going to go quickly down to Louise, who has got a guest with her from Michelin to talk about the tyres here this weekend. Over to you, Lou.
Yeah, this is really where the new rules are coming into play. We've got wet tyres going out, cold tyres going out. So just explain what you're thinking this session is going to show us.
Yeah, this session is very important for us because it's the first time we are going to test our new wet tyres, and in this condition also with cold tyres. So it's a very useful session for us.
I mean, we did see yesterday how people are still getting used to these new ways to deal with the tyres going out on this really tricky circuit.
Yes, this circuit is very specific. As you can see that the layout is very tough on the tires because we have different areas on the track that is very demanding, different demands from the tires. So we have a very high speed section, a very cornery section where we need very high level grip. And the last section is very fast corner. So we need to find a compromise on the tires on that. That's why we have the 3 specs available this weekend. And to start also with cold tires, a big challenge because we can see on the compression on the Eau Rouge, we have a huge effort on the rear left tire that the rear left tire can cope up to 1,500 kilos only on the rear left tire. So it's a huge compression on the tires. So that's why we have to work very closely with every team to use the correct pressure on the tires, especially when the tires go.
Guys, Pierre can actually hear you, so if you have any questions, you feel free to ask them now.
Well, Pierre, I guess everybody is starting off with wet weather tyres. How much drier will the track need to be before it becomes a slick track? Is that something that Michelin will advise on, or is that really down to drivers?
Yeah, this track, it can drive very quickly. We can see that now the rain has stopped for a couple of hours. But we saw in a session before with the Porsche Cup that there was no water sprays behind the car, so we can see that the track is already drying. So our wet tire this year, we have only one specification. Before we had a full wet and a drying wet. So now the new rules just ask us to have only one type of tire. So it was very challenging for us to have one tire that covers all the range. And for safety purpose, we orientated our development towards this full wet condition, because I think this is where the drivers need to have confidence. The drying conditions is going to be more tricky. It's going to be more about performance and about strategy, and also about how the team and the driver can cope with these conditions. So we will see how they can manage. It's new also for us, but hopefully we will learn a lot during this session.
And that's important because, as we know, it always rains at Le Mans. Pierre, thank you very much indeed. As always, a pleasure to hear from the brains at Michelin. And actually, while we're riding on board with the Iron Dames Porsche of Rahal Frey, let's introduce our first guest in the booth. Wolf Hensler is responsible for Porsche's talent pool, the younger drivers, Carrera Cup, Deutschland, Belgium, France, and especially the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. But as a member of the Porsche family, how exciting is it to have the hypercars here, to be back in the top class again as a Porsche family member?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm more on the bottom of the Porsche family, like now in the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. But seeing this, it's great, and also seeing them not only here in Europe and in the WEC, also seeing them in the US. I've been to the US this year at Sebring, and it was amazing. Both races were there, WEC and the IMSA, the Sports Car WeatherTech Championship, and it was amazing to see so many people and so many great cars, and especially the Porsche Penske team over there.
And you know, we're starting to feel, ooh, hello. Ooh. Yeah, straight on at the top of the hill at Les Combes, up the Michael Schumacher Escape Road. But we're starting to see that the top class is really becoming very healthy. We've got as many cars here in the top class as have been seen. 14 cars was the most in LMP1 at Le Mans in 2015, so another half a generation. But we're starting to get to Group C levels of involvement with customer teams, which is really important for the sport. And in GT, that's the case as well, because we're going from the end of GT this year to GT3, which is going to bring a whole different level of customer involvement as well.
For sure, this will bring a lot more customers in the GT class. I mean, so many manufacturers have already a GT3 car, so I think this is also a good step for the WEC to have these cars running, and makes it even more open for even a lot more manufacturers.
It also gives, doesn't it, an easier step for some of that young talent to step into the international arena, whether or not it's at the WEC level, European Le Mans Series, Michelin Le Mans Cup or whatever. It was interesting to see, and one of the major reasons you're here is spotted you when I was doing a bit of a pit walk a couple of evenings ago with the guys from the talent pool in the Porsche Penske team garage, where top senior management and senior engineers were walking them through the systems on the car. And some wide-eyed young drivers there. What was that experience like for them? What kind of feedback were you getting from your charges?
I mean, we told them before, hey, we might have a chance to go and see the Porsche Penske team, and they were always texting me, hey, can we go, can we go? They were very, very excited, and it was really cool. On Wednesday, we went there before everything started, so the people at the team, the Porsche Penske team, took time, and we spent there almost an hour. It was scheduled maybe maximum of 30 minutes, and we were there almost an hour, so it was crazy for them to see the car, to see everything from inside, and also to see maybe where they can be in future if they perform well. Now they are, let's say, in the beginning of everything. They are young drivers. The youngest one just turned 16. He just got his license to do the Carrera Cup Deutschland, and it's amazing for them to see how professional it is and everything.
Porsche the first, and it's happening today with their toe in the water of the customer hypercar market, but that customer program for Porsche Motorsport started with the Cup cars. It's what, 34, 33 years of Cup cars. The 5,000th car in that production range is now on track, will be the VIP car for Porsche Super Cup this year. Both, you've seen the developments from the cars down through at least some of that period of time. I'm not saying you were there in 1990, you most certainly were. But if I remember correctly, that 1990 car, half the power of the current Type 992 car. Even at a Cup car level, these things they're weapons now. They really are amazing pieces of kit. These Cup cars, one-make cars now, exceeding the performance levels of some of the GT2 cars you'd been racing back in the day.
That's correct, yeah. I mean, the lap time, if you look at the lap time of the actual Cup car, it's faster than like a RSR 15 years ago. So the performance is really great, and the horsepower also improved with every model what comes out. The downforce, everything gets better and better and more professional.
It's mostly down to the coaching. That's where the. But you're right. I mean, you know, if they come from Carrera Cup Deutschland or from Mobil 1 Super Cup, coming into GT3, that's not a big jump up. That's coming straight in at something that is very, very familiar to them. So, you know, we saw with guys like Larry Tenforder coming out of Super Cup and doing races in WEC before COVID that those guys can slot straight in, slight differences in the rules, but boom, they've got the speed. So they're all there, aren't they? They've got that ability when they get to that level.
We have a good example. We have Laurin Heinrich. He was in the German Carrera Cup, Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. That's the correct pronouncing. Mm-hmm. He was there. He was in the talent pool. He performed very well. We sent him to the Porsche Junior Shootout, that takes place every year at the end of the season. Every Carrera Cup worldwide can nominate one driver. We have 11 Carrera Cups worldwide. So he went there and he won the Porsche Junior Shootout.
You'll be raw breathing a little bit here.
Well, that's going to be a factor, isn't it, when there's one dry line, the Ferrari hypercar trying to go by the Inter-Europol LMP2 car that needed the line as well.
So he's been through that process, he's come through the other side, and then the really heavy lifting starts. It's then a matter of keeping Porsche viewed on your progress and having the kind of career that you've had with Porsche. Delighted you are still with the family in a senior position. However well you put it down, it's a very responsible position to be looking after the potential talent for this fantastic make for another decade.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, now I'm more or less done with racing, but I can give a lot of my experience, what I learned and what I know about the Porsche family. I can teach the young drivers and help them and put them on the right way, that they know what needs to be a professional.
Let's hear from Sebastian Webby's crew.
Okay, Seb, I'm going to give you another lap or two. What do you think about the soft low temp for the next driver? What do you think about soft low temp, considering it's like an Inter?
Top of the track will be obviously very easy. some of the tracks might still be an issue. I guess we've got to try, to be honest.
That's all part of the racing driver's experience, isn't it, Wolf? Making those decisions, because there's no clear, oh yeah, absolutely, we go soft now. So he's talking about what slick they're going to try, and okay, it's going to be sketchy, but if you wait till it's safe, you're not racing, you're just driving.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, who knows better than the driver who is driving at the moment, and then with the experience, you have a good idea of what you should do.
Okay, little run out wide from the number 5 car. Dane Cameron had an issue with the drive shaft on that car. Yes, in fact, both hypercars stopped during the session. The number 6 car had a hybrid issue, and although the hybrid is a spec part for the LMDH cars, which these Porsche hypercars are.
That car's not up to speed, is it?
Still not, so... Right, we are 42 minutes remaining in the session, so 15 minutes in. Final word, Graham, for Wolf?
I just think it's great that we've got members of the Porsche family that have been with us through their entire racing career. They're still there and looking after this talent pool moving forward. Porsche, with a foot on every rung of the ladder from one-make racing, and beyond that, club racing below that.
Yes.
Up through GT4, GT3, GTE for the final year this year, and into hypercar. And I think it's great that we've got the likes of Wolf and Sasha Masson and Mark Lieb involved in the communication side of this, who are names that, frankly, I've grown through the sport with.
Well, exactly. I can remember when they were all kids racing.
Stop.
But the great thing is, when you are a kid racing, these guys were there. Yep. And so guys like you, Wolf, and like Sasha, Mark and everybody, you were once the guy in that shootout. I can remember Sasha telling me he did the shootout, he went out and he did 3 laps in the car. He was box, okay, and they just went to him, okay, get out of the car, and next driver in, and he was going, okay, that's the end of my career, what next? They'd got him in because he was so quick. They went, okay, right, he's fine, we need to get the other guy. I mean,
put heads to it now.
Listen, thank you for coming up to talk to us, and I hope your Chargers have a great season this year.
Yeah, good luck with it. It's great to see young talent coming up through any form of motorsport, but when it's coming into our part of it, all the better, into the hands of some very good guys. Let's have a listen to what's going on at number 5.
I exit wide of the pit exit, but I could not go. You can show the data and the video, I could not turn.
Could not turn?
Yeah, and we had power steering issue on one of the Ferraris yesterday. We've had power steering issues on the Porsches. Are we seeing the first incident of a power steering issue on the number 5, on the Peugeot, on the number 5 Porsche? Louise Beckett is in the pit lane. Louise, you were champing at the bits to have a word with us.
I'll just let that promo go past. Yeah, so I'd say a good 6 minutes now that the number 2 Cadillac has been the only car I've seen out on used slicks.
Now that's interesting, because I was watching Full Access from Sebring during the week, and there was a little chat between the Ferrari drivers that were starting the race about using used tyres that they'd qualified on to start the race, because they would come up to temperature possibly better on the 2 formation laps. So yeah, from Portimao. What did I say?
You said Sebring.
I said Sebring. I did say
there is the Sebring Full Access,
Sebring
which is also very good.
What I can tell you is the number 7 have now got used slicks out as well.
They're listening to you, mate. They're listening to you.
Well, the problem is, if you have a brand new slick that's got the sealant on from the mould, it'll be even wetter. It will be even more slippery, rather, in the wet when you're trying to bring it up to speed than one that you've already scrubbed. So scrubbing tyres in used to be a thing, is going to become more of a thing, possibly. You might see people going out in free practice just to take the sealant or the release agent off the tyre.
Yeah, that shiny, that sheen you have to a brand new tyre really isn't your friend on an out lap, particularly when you have no tyre warmers and a freezing cold day like we have today. But this is just probably a bit too early for the crossover point from a wet to a slick. But
well,
it's
we're finding out, because the number 5 car is on slicks, according to their radio.
Exactly. So look, slicks going on as well, as Louise pointed out down there on the Cadillac. But yeah, it's probably a bit on the early side for the crossover, but the wets I could see from earlier on. I think an image of the Ferrari sliding around, and you just saw from the rolled rubber on each corner of those wet tyres that came off the Cadillac, they're not working in these conditions. So this is actually intermediate conditions, but they would only last for 2 or 3 laps around this circuit before they do the same as what we've just seen the wet do.
Well, we need to know what the 51 is on, because the 51 in the hands of Antonio Giovinazzi has just gone 4.5 seconds quicker than absolutely anybody else. So Lou says she believes that car is on wets.
So what would happen if, in this kind of condition, Graham, is that if you put a brand new set of wets on, nice and cold, obviously, fresh out, tiptoe around on the out lap and then gun it for 1 lap, you will get 1 good lap time.
But it's 1.
It's just 1. Then it's going to really start to fall away quickly because you've got more rubber, there's more gauge, as they call it, and those bigger blocks of rubber start moving around. When they move around, it causes friction, causes heat. The whole build-up starts to happen exponentially so until you're driving around like you saw on the state of the Toyota's tyres. They start turning into slicks, and they're really not working in these conditions. So this is a fascinating stage of the circuit drying, where now we don't have intermediate tyres. That was fine. That was fine.
Yeah.
He was never going to turn it. That's a pro driver in the Joseph Da Costa. He knew that Ferrari was going down the inside.
And the Ferrari also knows that that is a proper pro lineup in that Jota car. So he knows that it's going to be Da Costa or Will Stevens or Yiffy Yi. So he knows that they're pro drivers and will be expecting it.
In a race, very different story.
Oh, yeah.
He would have had Da Costa defending with his teeth out on the steering wheel for all it was worth. But in a practice session, you know, clearly different age of tyres going on at this stage, and you're not fighting a fair fight.
Worth mentioning, by the way, with some pictures of that number 38 car, another phase in the hypercar era begins here with the first of the truly privateer efforts. Amazing effort by everybody at Jota, with Sam Hignett, with David Clark and the team behind there. Great that, by the way, they are showing such faith in the team behind the scenes. It's basically the guys you'll remember from your time with the team. It's not shipping in a load of talent, because
lots
they've got
of
plenty
guys
of
from
talent.
Weissach, no, exactly.
The level they got that LMP2 squad up to was more than deserving of a place on the hypercar grid. So it makes perfect sense to see Jota here. And brilliant, like you were saying earlier on, Graham, brilliant opportunity now in today's World Endurance Championship that you have the opportunity to run the same car pretty much as the manufacturer.
Absolutely right, and it's then a matter of just exactly how close to the available envelope can you squeeze it with the resources you've got.
And that's exactly what Group C survived on, is customer cars being sold. Group C, particularly Porsches. Group C2, you know, the likes of Spice and Tiger, manufacturing cars for customers to go racing in. That's why Group C lasted so long and had such big grids. It wasn't all manufactured cars. You see the Toyota there struggling. He must be on that soft.
Must be on slicks, yeah. So the LMP2 car, the Alpine, but I think he's on. I think they're on the wet still, on the Goodyears. They've got completely different tyre manufacturer and rubber compared to the Michelin tyres. It's the driver change there.
No tyre change yet.
No, not
but
yet.
There may be some.
I did see some blisters on the rear of that car, though.
What you might do at this stage, say for instance, is send Nick Nielsen out on the tired tyres.
Here we go.
But then he doesn't know what the tired wet is going to feel like. See, I'd have sent him out on the tired wet and then brought him back in after half a dozen laps and given him, so that you know what the wet's, when it's dying, you know what it feels like. Yikes! Come on, no, come back, baby, come back.
A bit more Baja than Spa there.
Baja, Olivier Pla.
That's what it looked like on board. So it is a downshift and a brake into Blanchimont, but it looks worse from the outside than the inside, that's for sure. But yeah, could have been a lot worse if he went further into the gravel.
I think that was a downshift and a brake because he was carrying too much in there. Was it? He was saving it there. Well, here's the other gold Jota car, the LMP2 car, being passed by the Peugeot 908. 9X8, I beg your pardon. Very different car than 908.
You see the problem they start to face when you've got a spin there with the band wall. But the problem they're starting to face now is that's, down at the source, turn 1, is that if they venture offline to overtake a slower car, you're onto the proper wet stuff still.
Yeah, properly.
And you could just see the Peugeot squirming around before it got back onto the drier part of the track and reattached the grip.
This is Esteban Guerrieri
So
on board with him down to La Source.
A bit of a camera break up before braking, turn it in, the rear just probably lazily comes round, overheating rear tyres, and that's the result.
Trail braking there up to the apex, but just a little too much rotation, and now he's tried to donut it round, and it's not donutted all the way around. Esteban in the pit lane is the Glickenhaus.
So Van will say that there was a debris problem. They had a brake failure, didn't they? We saw that massive flame come out the front right brake and sort of almost like shrapnel coming out the side of it as well before it went careering off into the barrier of poor old Jacques Villeneuve at the wheel at the time.
Yeah, that was Colin Collet's explanation in the press conference yesterday. In the back of the garage, actually, again, in the full access program, you see Villeneuve coming in and chatting to teammate Tom Dillman, and Tom saying, if that had been turn one, that would have hurt a lot more, and he's not wrong.
Yeah. Two cars, didn't we, in braking troubles for very different reasons. We see off the outside and then to the inside.
Didn't like that curve, did it?
No.
It's a bit too much speed mid-corner through Radion, and then he drifted out a bit wide, had to commit to that curve, but the car really didn't like taking it, and that's what spat him off onto the outside.
What does ground effect need?
Suction.
It needs the car to be a stable height from the ground, and when you lift it, as in ground effect Formula 1 cars of old, when you ride the curbs, boom, all your grip's gone, and it goes from 100% to 0 instantly. Once you break that suction, it's like pulling the hose off your Hoover. The hose never...
Well, the boys liked it. I would have kept it flat.
Yeah, I'd have been pinned.
You wait till you get out there on your slick tyres, then you'll start enjoying things.
See, I do. That's good team spirit, isn't it? Because they're not going, oh, that was ridiculous. They've all been there. They've all done it. They will all be there again. They will all do it again. But they're all going, yeah, okay, that was a fun ride. Now then, here's a story. Oh no, the wrong Aston, the blue Aston Martin. This is TF Sports Aston Martin. We've got
Still
two
not gone.
blue Aston Martins. We've got a change in the driver lineup in GTE AM, a change in team lineup in the 98 Aston Martin. It is still entered as Northwest AMR, but Paul Dall'Anna, who is Northwest of Northwest AMR, who's been the most successful GTE AM driver in the history of the World Endurance Championship, decided after Portimao that finally business had to come first. He said it's been coming for a while, and the demands of his business have been getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the ability to take time away, even to race, never mind to do all the training and everything else, has become tougher and tougher. And eventually after Portimao, he went, okay, I have to stop. I can't even spare the time to go and race in the Centenary Le Mans. Can you imagine how much the demands of the business must have been? So there is a big change in that 98 Aston, although the name over the door remains the same.
Yeah, the 4, by the way, is just driven away. And, you know, I hope he's listening and watching. Thank you, Paul Dall'Anna, for the entertainment down through the years. He's been a massive, massive part of the GT scene. Made his debut, by the way, in GT Pro just for the start of it. But he's going to be missed. He's been a firm fan favourite. He's got a great attitude to his racing. And if he's decided that's game over, then good luck to you, sir, and thanks for the entertainment. But it is great to see Heart of Racing here.
Yep. Heart of Racing were hoping to be on the grid anyway, and now are. Let's hear from the Peugeot team.
Yeah, we are tracking, we can see that, so we're going to box this lap, you stay in the car, and we're going to bleed tires again, and you will go.
Yeah, so they're tracking the tyre pressures, he means. So they're seeing them rise as the car's out there on track. As the hot air expands, it gets hotter. You see how they're steaming as he comes into it, and now they're bleeding the pressures back down to hopefully get lower running pressures when you're out there, and that really makes a difference to how hot and how the compound behaves as you're running around on a drying circuit.
Yeah, Mikkel Jensen was the driver, or he's the driver in the 93 car. It's Nico Müller in the 94. Here we are with our 33 Corvette. And again, is this going to be a car that is pitching for pole? Last year in Spa, Sarah Bovey took pole in GTE AM in the Iron Dames at that stage. Ferrari, Ben Keating is 2 for 2 this season, including 2 wins in Sebring and in Portimao. The Portimao win not coming easy for the crew. Nicky Katzberg had to fight tooth and nail to hang on in the last 30 minutes. But again, Ben could well be in the battle for pole position. He loves this track, but Sarabovi was on pole last year. So, Ferrari off. And is that 83 again?
So 21 is not yet here, but the 83 has had a bit of a brush with the barriers there. Let's hope not too much damage. It's been already a very long night. Full course yellow is going to come in response to that in about 30 seconds.
That is down at the Jackie X curve.
Turn 9. Yeah, she had a fantastic Portimao stint or two.
20 seconds to full course yellow.
But yeah, just lost the rear end a bit too quick and off that
throttle.
dry line. Yeah, it's such a tricky downhill. Used to have quite a big bump there.
9, 8,
but not anymore.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow. Full course yellow.
Yeah, there's an extra bit of track on the left-hand side. This was all rebuilt and resurfaced prior to last year's race, so the bumps here were taken out. The surface is better, it's more grippy. And that track on the left-hand side, that's the MotoGP version of the X-Curve. I wonder if it has a different name for MotoGP, named after famous Belgian motor. See, that would be great. That bit, when you go to MotoGP, it's not the Jackie X-Curve, because he was not a motorcyclist. It might be the Didier de Radiguez.
Tries to think rapidly of famous Belgian motorcyclists.
Didier de Radiguez.
Oh, yeah.
500cc GP racer and sports car racer.
He was indeed. Remember him well at the start of my kind of time in sports car racing. Another guy great to see.
And disgustingly, 65 last week or 2 weeks ago, looks like he's 40 still.
Damn him.
I know.
Damn him.
I know. Hello to Didier, wherever you are. Lovely man. Absolutely batshit, and I was talking to him. He was racing in Adelaide in the race of 1,000 years, and he was saying that during the summer he said, we went sailing, and he liked sailing. He said, I like jet ski. He did a jet ski race around Corsica because of course you do, and he jet skied up the Amazon because of course you do. Now then, one of the new names at Jota, Audi fans will recognise, because the man who is in charge of their hypercar programme is Dieter Gas. Louise is with him.
Well, that's the 28 just leaving, so we'll let that one go first. Dieter Gas, it's lovely to see you, lovely to have you here with Hertz Team Jota, and now the arrival of your new hypercar, the 38.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we couldn't wait to have the car here, obviously. It was all a big tension growing up. And I have to say, very emotional moment yesterday as well, when the car left the garage for the first time. There was so much work and effort and passion put into everything from everybody. It's really amazing to see that.
I mean, what I like, first of all, is that the LMP2s and the hypercar are actually sharing the garage, and we know from the team that actually these mechanics that are all working on both cars have been with the team for a long time. It's not like they've brought new people in.
No, I mean, it's the same crew which ran the P2 car so far, so it's a very experienced team. They're all used to working together, so they know each other, which is a big advantage. Obviously now is a different car, so we need to learn a few things on the new car. But you see, we're making steady progress every session, and I'm looking forward to what's coming next.
And of course, we know you from the Audi days. You're now team principal here. How is that for you to come into such a fresh new team and bring your knowledge and experience?
It's fantastic. I love it because, I mean, it's back to go racing. I mean, being in a big company is good. It has some advantages. But I love the race for the racing side of it, and here I'm fully in it, so it's fantastic.
Lastly, they look like quite fresh slicks going onto that 38 just then at that pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. So we're trying to maximize the experience in all areas, as well on the tires, obviously, trying to give Antonio a feel of the changeover and, get some laps under our belt.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have him back, isn't it, after so many years with Audi. Started his sports car racing career, by the way, with Bugatti at Le Mans back in 1994, the EB 110 programme. Found that out at a press event for Audi back in the day, but a cheerful and very able sort, Dieter Gas, and he will bring his experience, his depth of knowledge. You see again, by the way, this is the impact yesterday in free practice 2.
Doesn't get any better, does it? The more times you watch it.
Yeah, Thomas Fleur won't be enjoying that. Now, he should, at some point, see a replacement car for the 21 arrive. 54, a magnificent... You would never know that car had been involved in that shunt.
Why have we got a Ferrari going off in under a full course yellow up at... well, you can hear from their radio now.
Hey guys, I almost crashed. I needed to brake so hard before the full course yellow. I slightly touched the nose. I was so lucky.
Okay, Ali, the nose looks okay. It's just the wheel is damaged. Nose is not okay. Let me get a clear answer.
Okay, you can switch to this.
He hit the Porsche. He's saying that when it went to full course yellow, he hit the brakes as hard as he could, but he hit the Porsche lightly, he said.
I just want to know why he went off in under a full course yellow down at
a bit odd.
At Le Combe.
Temperature gone out of the tyres.
Really goes to show how on the limit they are. Though, is this the moment that it happened? The replay here. So under full course yellow.
Yeah, because he's on the limiter there.
Yeah. So oh, he's had a spin. So this is how he touched the nose. That's why.
No, didn't hit anything.
I think he said I think I lightly touched the nose, and he said I hit the brakes and it went around.
Curbs, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
He didn't say I hit the curb. Maybe he said I hit something else.
No, he said I hit the brakes. And when I hit the brakes, I lost it, and that makes a lot more sense now. So he didn't hit the pause.
He's heard the splitter going over the curb.
Yeah. So now the team, obviously, when you come past the pit lane of past the pit straight, you'll get the engineers and mechanics leaning over the pit wall sometimes to check the car to see if there's any damage before it comes into the pits. And you would often ask on the radio, can you just check the car as they come past, especially on a full course yellow? They've got more time to look at it.
Looking at the 54 car, it looks immaculate. You would never know that car had been involved in that incident yesterday evening. Magnificent work from AF Corsa. And how efficient, by the way, in the final year of the 488 GTE to work their way through all of the spares packages they've got in the first 3 races.
Yes, because the new car won last weekend, didn't it?
First overall race win at the 24-hour Nürburgring qualifying race, the 2-hour race at the Nürburgring.
I've never seen this before. Them hoovering up, or are they?
No, leaf blowers, blowing the debris away. Yeah,
I've never seen that.
I would presume that is. It's a good thing to do because it means she's not going to drop the gravel on the racing line.
Well, less of it, yes.
Well, it's saving the mechanics a lot of work.
Absolutely.
They pretty much do exactly the same thing when the car comes back to the garage. So nice of the marshals to be doing that. The Cadbury team.
We still haven't had a picture, have we, of the Heart of Racing car? I've not seen that car. There's the other car run out of the TF Sport garage. This is the 777 car, and. Was asking.
Oh, that's why. Sorry, so yeah, because she's going to get going again rather than taking it back.
Look, he's saying wiggle the steering when you go. Wiggle the steering. Yes, okay, got that. You know, no, really, wiggle the steering.
And obviously drive off the racing line before you slam the brakes, because all those stones you've collected will start coming flying out the car. So so look, she's peeling off the racing line now. Just having another look at how that happened. It's such a slow, kind of pathetic spin, isn't it, those speeds, but no temperature in the tyres. Sorry?
That was the Heart of Racing.
That was the Heart of Racing car, right? Yeah, she's just carried a fraction too much speed in and just got off throttle and hasn't got the drive to the rear wheels, and that's just sort of drags it around.
Worth saying, by the way, the branding team for the WC would have seen that. So you see Jacques Villeneuve. Seen that with heavy hearts, knowing they've got to trudge their way out and put back the branding she's managed to neatly shave off.
Again, a little moment of hilarity.
20 seconds to remove full course yellow.
In the full access program, Anthony's going, oh, so the Triple Crown might still be on then, because he's a Monaco Grand Prix winner, F1 World Champion. He went, that's a lot of cars that have to retire at Le Mans first.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow removed. Thank you to everyone.
Stones rattling out of Lila Wadou's Ferrari. The one amber light on the side, by the way, showing that car is fastest in class in session, or was.
Was before they went to...
Yes, it's now gone down to 2.
It's because it's not crossed the line yet.
Yeah, well, it hasn't crossed a timing beam yet, so it's now updated itself. It is second in class. Fastest is the Iron Lynx Ferrari number 60. Of Matteo Cressoni.
Not a Ferrari anymore, it's a Porsche.
I beg your pardon. Unless my eyes deceive me in that shot of leader Red Bull coming towards us. I'm pretty sure it's started to rain again.
I think it's gone very dark.
It has gone dark.
It makes sense why the Cadillac, at least, its wiper was on coming up through Eau Rouge.
Now, it may be raining there, but we haven't had any whinging from the pit lane, so it's not raining here.
Okay. And also not seeing any umbrellas on this pit straight.
Or Louise is in Joe to having a cup of tea.
Well, no, I mean, this track is notorious for that, isn't it? It's such a long circuit, 7 kilometres. Yeah, I'm pretty sure on this shot that it's raining there at the top of the hill.
So you've seen the graphic on top of the screen. It'll be May the 10th for the next WEC Full Access programme from here at Spa-Francorchamps. Remember, it's just been 2 weeks since we're at Portimao. That programme is up there and already getting rave reviews from fans who asked for that long form programme. They've got it and they're loving it. We're going to be going down again, though, to United Autosports, who've had a stellar start to the 2023 season, and Oliver Jarvis is going to be with Lou Beckett on pit lane right now.
Ollie Jarvis, I just said the word Portimao to you and you got a big smile on your face. I mean, that was incredible last time out.
Yeah, it was just a really enjoyable race, actually. I mean, we had a few issues throughout, but to come away with the result we did after a tough Sebring, it just made it even more sweet. So yeah, really delighted. It's exactly what we needed, and to get the win felt very special.
I don't know if you've seen the Full Access programme, but it really shed a light on what you went through as a driver and as a team, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on in and out of the car, and I guess a little bit of experience, but also I could almost hear what my engineer was going to, or wanting to tell me in the car. But I think we managed it well. Team did a great job with the pit board, and fortunately it worked out. It could have gone either way, but this particular time it worked in our favour.
It really did work out, but now we're here in very different conditions to Spa. Of course, we haven't got tyre warmers here this season. And how's it affecting those LMP2s? Because you've got a lot of experience here at Spa.
Yeah, it's going to affect every class. I think the big thing is in mixed conditions like we have now, as a team and as drivers, we call it a crossover point. It's a lap time at which we would start to go to slicks. But the problem now is you can't go to slicks as early as you could before, because before you could put hot tyres on, you could go out and generate the heat. Now the problem is if the track is damp, we just can't get the heat into the tyres. So we've got to be a lot more cautious, and you're going to see more spins, more incidents. So it's just waiting for that right moment. But you're going to find we're going to chew up the wets because it's too dry for wets, but we can't generate the heat in the slick. So very difficult.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a really good point that Ollie makes about the tyre warmers there, that that crossover point has basically become a bit wider now, narrower now than it was before back in the day of the tyre warmers, because, yeah, you could get out there with a softer tyre, being in the heaters, and get straight out there up to racing speed, which would keep the energy up in the tyre and keep the heat up, more importantly. Now, you're getting out there on this wet, dry track with ambient conditioned tyres. You're not allowed to heat them in any shape or form. So, yeah, that's another challenge and something else to consider for the teams and drivers.
The onboard there with Toyota briefly reminding us that they had that cover on the P2 tube. The official response is it was unintentional, so they did leave it on by mistake. And clearly, he has not been in. He is on a long-run race prep, not interrupted by Will Faddle around with doing things like that.
Well, this might not be good news. Sorry,
number of cars being investigated for a possible speed improvement under full course yellow.
That includes a couple of our hypercar runners, the 5 Porsche and the 38 Porsche, the Hertz Team Jota car. As Lou was talking to Ollie Jarvis about Portimao, it reminds me to mention it's been a really gruelling month so far for a number of the teams in this paddock, including United Autosports, TF Sport, AF Corsa, Inter Europol, Kessel Racing and others. This is the 3rd racing weekend on the bounce from Portimao. Very many of the teams went directly to Barcelona, Proton competition as well, for the starting round of the European Le Mans Series, and now here in Spa. It could have been 4, but for the cancellation of the Imola race for the LMS next weekend. there's some tired faces down in some of those garages, and I wonder whether or not that might have an impact if we get into dramas this weekend. Well drilled, everybody here, but some very tired people.
Yeah, obviously there's no curfew at all in the World Endurance Championship, unlike that in Formula 1, say, where you can't, you can take a joker to work through the night. But it seems to be more commonplace in WEC, and you know there are more, in a way, they're more complex cars. They're harder to work on. They're bigger cars. They're harder to access all of the bits and pieces that you need to, because mainly of the closed-in nature of these cars, the bodywork, the closed canopy that they have compared to an open cockpit single-seater, for example, suspension under all those covers of the car. So they do take, it seems, longer to work on in many ways than a single-seater. So yeah, like I said, I can fully appreciate how. It's not a huge championship in terms of the races that you do in a season. Only sits at 7 this year, but you know they're long races. They're hard work for all of the personnel in the garages and the engineers as well. So I can see how you can get a bit of burnout, a bit of fatigue, quite easily. Yes, yeah, you really see the rain pouring down now as Bortolotti works his way up through Eau Rouge and up the Kemmel Straight now. Down the inside of the GT cars, pick your braking spot for Lecon, sneak a bit of that curb on the right-hand side, help open up turn 6 and curb for good measure there as well. Ease onto the power halfway through turn 7, use a bit of that curb on the exit, not too much in the wet conditions though, as the track now drops down the hill, and use the wide line to gain a little bit more grip. Probably that was a bit too far for Bortolotti in the number 63 Prema car.
Worth saying, by the way, the viewing area above Bruxelles corner there, more or less the highest point on this circuit, in the circuit environs, that point double the elevation that you've got at Radio. That's how much this circuit continues to climb. It is completely amazing when you stand up there and see what the level is. You can see the rain falling on this super slow-mo.
Yeah, but also the sparks underneath the Porsche there as it rode over the curbs. And actually, yesterday when we were up at Eau Rouge in the new grandstand there on the climb up to Rédillon, you could see even the GTE cars were bottoming out there, and there's like little puffs of smoke as they bottom in Eau Rouge, and then also as they crest the rising Rédillon, they're just like over the curbs there, just a little puff of smoke. So everything running super low to try and get the most aerodynamic grip that you can do.
With the rain coming down like this, you know, I think the best of the conditions are gone in this session with only 11 minutes remaining. So what that means, they're going to have, if it is dry for qualifying, a completely green track. By that I mean with no rubber down on the circuit at all. And that's going to only mean one thing. The circuit's going to be improving lap by lap by lap. So whoever's out there last, whoever slams on a brand new set of slick tyres in qualifying, likely to benefit mostly.
So don't miss that. This, of course, Free Practice 3, as every race will be this season for the FIA World Endurance Championship, free and live with us all on YouTube. But join our broadcast partners or on the WC app for qualifying of the race, the full track action live.
Louise Beckett.
Just picking up on what Ant said, actually, Sebastian saying that in the press conference yesterday, he pretty much predicted exactly what's happening already in this session and what he expects for qualifying.
So Elbamba coming around to complete this lap, and Ant's right, there's visibly rain falling on the pit straight now.
You could see him just, you know, with these back on the wet tyres, he's now hunting for the wetter parts of the track. As on the way down towards the final chicane, or before Blanchimont even, just venturing on to the wetter part, the damp part of the track, just to try momentarily to cool those wet tyres that are clearly overheating on the drier parts. And look, doing it again offline, and there's the blistering that I talked about earlier on. So this on the back of the Peugeot.
Yep.
You really see how, yeah, the inside, that main block that's worn away and bubbled up from underneath inside the tyre. So the heat from underneath inside the tyre comes up through the surface and, yeah, causes that blister, and chunks of rubber, therefore, start falling off. Absolutely. And you really feel that from inside the car.
Worth saying, by the way, we look at the Peugeot now after that long lingering shots of the Cadillac. What a glorious sound that thing has actually got. That is going to be a massive fan favourite at Le Mans. Alongside, I'm told, and this is the number 28 car off the road in the hands of David Heimer Hansen. Alongside the even louder NASCAR Garage 56 car. There's going to be some very different soundtracks on display at Le Mans.
That was out of Piff Paff.
There aren't many places on this track where you can go off and only pick up a little bit of grass and no damage to the bodywork. This is how it happened. So yeah, down turn 12 was actually the sister car. Well, the
coming up
sister
behind,
car.
yeah. No, it is the sister car. Yeah, he was obviously just a quick glimpse in the mirrors and then missed the braking point.
And thank you, by the way, to Hurst Team Jota for finally understanding that we did need them to change cars so we can tell the difference between the two. That's
really
now been
kind
achieved.
Of them. Really kind of them. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
That's a major investment on your part, and we do appreciate it.
Nothing to do with their ambitions to race in hypercar. It was all because we were struggling to see the differences between their liveries.
Before the shift in focus there to driver in foreground, Loic Duval, just a shot in the background of, in the Peugeot Sport Garage, of Stoffel van Dorn, who is, I think now, their nominated reserve driver.
Yes, he is.
So no pressure there, guys, in the race seats. Stoffel sitting there, of course, very much a national hero here in Belgium.
Stoffel, a.k.a. the Vulture van Dorn, waiting to pick up the pieces of drivers that lose their seat.
Did he make up that name himself, or is it?
No, I've just made it up on the spot.
It's
what you call a reserve driver. It's just
the Vulture.
It was actually David Richards that said that to me once back in my BAR days. Like, look at you sitting there having your breakfast like a vulture, waiting for somebody to fall foul and replace them.
But you've not clung to that or been bitter about it at all for the last 20
Yeah, I mean, it
will
came
that
true
have been
at least once.
That'll be the man who hired you as a reserve driver.
7.5 minutes to go. Fred McAvicky's taken Porsche to the top of the times. And that, I think, may be the first time we've seen a Porsche 963 at the top of the times in the WEC.
Yeah. So Porsche number 5 is fastest from the 51 Ferrari, which was fastest of all in FP2 after a quali sim. The 38 Jota Porsche is third fastest. Fourth is the 94 Peugeot. And the best of the Toyotas is in 10th.
Copy. But put six because it's too dry now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because the first lap I had grip, second lap already gone.
Yes, so they were caught out by the same shower that we saw come over, and when I said, I think the circuit, we've had the best from it, well, it's quickly drying now. The sun's actually come back out, so with 6.5 minutes remaining, they're going to get one lap. There's the car 2 off. So that's on the wet tyres, of course. They're properly overheating at this stage, and he's lost all grip. So that was a good call from Ferrari.
Okay, now, you're a racing driver, and so you always want the best tyres, but this is about figuring out how long and how tough it's going to be to survive. Because in the race, you're not going to go, oh, 2 laps, no, I've got to come in and change again. You have to live with what you've got.
You're committed.
So Ferrari, all of this, let's change it. No, stop doing that. You can't do it in a race. This is final practice. You know, are they going to do a quali sim now? Is anybody on
you could argue on the flip side. You could argue on the flip side as well that, you know, you've got to find, as Ollie Jarvis was talking about, this window of when you can go onto the slicks. At what lap time is the circuit fast enough to warrant going onto the slicks to be a benefit? Is it now? It didn't really look like it was before. The track was too wet before, so that might be really valuable information to try it again. Now it's a little bit drier, it seems.
But engineers and people like me will look at lap time. In the car, it's entirely how it drives, and the lap time is irrelevant. It can be absolutely swimming in the middle sector and undrivable, but the rest of the lap time looks like it's quite good and should be slicks. Let's hear from the caddy number 2.
Earl, is all okay?
Yeah, I just stopped because my rear lift is drying out.
Yeah, copy. We box, and we try for the crossover. Because we think this is the crossover time, so box, and you go on the soft hots again.
Yeah, times are tumbling, and in fact, just briefly, we could have seen, had I think there'd not been that yellow flag, Hertz Team Jota at the top of the times briefly there. They were up to second, but abandoned a lap that was quick enough, I think, to be just quicker than Fred McAvicky, had we not the yellow flags out.
Interesting, at the end of that radio message there to Earl Bamber, his engineer said, we'll go for the soft hot. So some people watching this, wherever you are, will be thinking, what do you mean by soft hot? So it's a soft compound tyre conditioned to work in hotter conditions.
Okay.
And because of the nature of this high-speed circuit with lots of high-speed corners, puts a lot of energy through your tyres, even though it's not actually a hot day, the track offers up a lot of grip and energy through your tyre. It means you run in inverted commas, a hot tyre.
Got it.
Well, we heard from Pierre Alves of Michelin at the beginning saying that the left rear alone sustains 1,500 kilos of load in the compression at Eau Rouge.
Yeah.
The car's minimum weight is 1030, so one tyre is taking 150% of the, just that one tyre taking 150% of the car's overall load because the aerodynamic load, and because of course, you know, at speed the aerodynamics makes the car, quote, heavier, pushes it down more. So there's all that. Let's hear from Louise Beckett in the pit lane.
The 94 Peugeot has just been pushed back into the garage. I don't believe that's because of the end of the session. I believe there may be an issue with that 94 Peugeot.
All right, we will catch up with that. You're absolutely right. Romain Dumas goes top of the pile for Glickenhaus, who were, remind me, Graham Goodwin, where in qualifying here last year?
I think it would have been pole. I think it's a bit of an outlier, but watch as well for Kamui Kobayashi, way quicker again as the times are set to tumble in the last 3 minutes. But for now, it gives Jim a little bit of a smile on his face, and we wait to find out the names that are going to join Glickenhaus in their two-car, all blue, all baby blue efforts at Le Mans this year. And for what I believe is going to happen, watch this space.
This is Kobayashi now, 2.2 seconds up on that time of the Glickenhaus by the end of the second sector. As he works his way up towards Blanchimont, Kobayashi, the king of qualifying, I'd say, always manages to extract every ounce of performance out of that Toyota, heads down towards the final chicane. Last braking point on the track, turn 19, the car hooks up pretty well. A little bit lazy, I'd say, in its change of direction, though, from 19 to 20. And comes across the line, what's it going to be? 2.5 seconds up.
209.486 for the Japanese driver.
And for comparison, they were doing 201s as the fastest laps in the dry in FP2 yesterday. So it's a near 10-second loss of time because of the damp track. And again, you know, Toyota down the bottom of the top 10 so far in the session. That's because they've been doing race runs as they did in FP2. And this is a proper, fully lit Kamui Kobayashi. Anthony, close enough?
We had a bit of camera break up there, but you could hear the throttle. That didn't break up. He was having to back out of it, and he committed to that curve on the at the end, on the inside where we saw the Peugeot get all crossed up before, and he backed out of it again.
I'm tempted to kind of just spool the memory tapes back to this car at Spa in the start of its career 3 seasons ago. The difference is night and day, even in these slightly shonky conditions. The difference between the way that car appears on track, the way it handles, the way it brakes, the way what they've squeezed out of this package is absolutely amazing. And the reason we're saying that, by the way,
we did see a momentary yellow flag down at turn 14. That's why. Hopefully that hasn't done any damage to the steering arms on that. Number 5 Porsche 5, is it? Yeah. That was Makawiki at the wheel.
Yeah, so he's going to make it back to track service. The reason I make that point, by the way, about the difference being night and day, it shows, doesn't it, the progress that the rest of these teams both have to make and can make with cars built around the same parameters.
Well, you just have to look at the Glickenhaus, which Jim Glickenhaus himself said at the beginning of the year, it's an untouched car from last season. And look at the difference in spread of lap times now between the Toyotas and the Glickenhaus. Toyotas have made improvements to their car. It's a heavily revised car from not a completely new design, but a heavily revised car. And we're really seeing the difference in lap time. Here is that Porsche's in the garage, in the pit lane, looking a little bit sorry for itself.
Yeah, looking like the side of my Morris Minor with Armco marks down the side.
The bodywork can take it, but can the steering arms have taken that? Because I'm pretty sure I saw just look out for that front left. That's the one that, that bit there might have got away with it.
Left rear actually hit first. On board with Fred Mako.
Check the flags out, by the way. Horrible feeling when you know you've gone past the point of no return. You're heading towards the barrier. You're like, no. You try and square the car up best you can, and you're just fighting a lost cause, and you kick yourself because you think, it's a risk-reward kind of situation in these conditions, and you know if you can brake a bit later, you gain lap time, but it's one of those corners that's going to bite you.
That was Earl Bamber's radio. Everything okay, Earl? Yeah, just spun. Just shoot me now. You know, you're so disappointed in yourself when you make a mistake like that, aren't you?
Purple's middle sector, by the way, as the cars are completing their final flying lap for Felipe Albuquerque, who goes...
Whoa, Bamber's got
fifth.
top of the pile, by the way.
Bamber goes top. Felipe Albuquerque and United Autosports Orica goes 5th quickest overall. With a field that has 13 hypercars. Yeah. That's some lap from Felipe.
Kobayashi is on it again, another half a second up as we'll see him fly into view on the exit of Pouhon. He's got the Jota in front of him into turn 12.
And Albuquerque did not race in Portugal. He was busy winning in Long Beach instead.
Yep.
So
watch Gabby Aubrey
at
this session. He is 2,000ths over the current top time in the session in the Vector Sport car. He was mega last summer. He goes 3rd quickest overall in the number 10.
And if you want to see how much it hurts not to be on pole position when you think you're in it with a snip of a chance, do watch the full access. I know we keep banging on about it from Porsche, because Gabby Aubrey, Kobayashi is going to get a bit messed up here from the Porsche. He's off the track. That was too much risk there from Kamui. I could read it before it happened.
Their pitot tube has come to result. Yeah, and he could too as well, but he's committed. He's just, again, trying to get another quali lap in.
Freddie Habsburg goes 3rd quickest overall. The 31. Team Joe to go 4th.
Last year, we nearly had an overall winner in LMP2. In the end, Robin Freins was caught and passed by the Toyotas. Checker flag, everybody's now completing their final lap. Checker flag's been out for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Just waiting for a couple of the LMP2s to complete the
Here's
session.
That moment, sorry Graham to butt in there. Here's that moment where, so the problem is, see the dry line and the wet line going on? Yeah. So the wet line's on the inside. Here we go. So he's going to place the car onto the wet line momentarily. That's all it took to send the car off on the outside. So just for that moment, taken away valuable grip from your tyre, and you can't carry the speed you can in the dry line. Suddenly you're on a wet track. So that's the problem on a drying circuit in a corner like Blanchimont.
He reacted instantly, didn't he? The moment he felt that it wasn't turning, off the throttle on the brakes, okay, gather it all up. Well, there's a very happy-looking Sam Hignett, their first time out with this brand new car. Will Stevens is 4th overall. And there's WRT, Freddie Habsburg, 3rd fastest overall and fastest car in LMP2.
And remember, that's a team that next season will be joining the hypercar ranks with BMW.
What was going on there?
Wheels are spinning on the jacks. That might be I think that's a penalty, isn't it?
Still in gear somewhere for some reason.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
If it was in the race, it would certainly be a penalty. I don't know what the penalties are in a practice session.
As we're rolling down towards the end of this broadcast, just another reminder. Remember, do join us for qualifying on the new WC app and with our broadcast partners. Details of where you can find it in your region on the FIWC.com website. And of course, for the full race with Martin Haven, with Ant Davidson, with Lou Beckett and with myself.
And we will be on air for qualifying live at 16:50 local, 14:50 Greenwich Mean Time. Wherever you are around the world, please join us for that. Whether it's wet or dry, it is bound to be entertaining. The new format with one session per class has really allowed drivers to shine and really allowed us to focus in on each of the particular classes. It's not just all prototypes and GTs. Everybody gets their own session. That's a big positive change, I think, in the way that qualifying works. It certainly works very well for TV.
What a great looking car that is.
Yeah.
I mean, when we saw this livery for the first time, it was described as being what they hoped. Hertz Team Jota is the first of what will become a series of 21st century iconic privateer hypercar liveries, and it's difficult to deny that this is a good starting point, isn't it? Livery designed by Singer.
And it's a great advert, isn't it, for the hypercar privateer category, that you can just buy a car and go and race it. If you're a good team, you can go and race it. And so far, probably cursed it now for them, but so far the car looks to be reliable enough that in their very first foray into this brilliant circuit here in Spa with a hypercar, it seems to be doing the business.
So it's number 7 Toyota Gazoo Racing GR10 of Kamui Kobayashi, fastest in this free practice 3, 2:08.702. Third quickest overall was the leading car in LMP2, the 32 Team WRT Orica Ferdi Habsburg, and topping GTE AM is the number 60 Iron Lynx Porsche 911 RSR Matteo Crisoni. Well, no shortage of action there, but there's a whole, well, I say whole weekends. Remember, it is a Saturday race. I know there's been a couple of graphics, a couple of social media posts that talk about Sunday. It's a Saturday race. Do not miss it, because this place always provides drama, always provides great racing, never more so when sports cars are involved.
Absolutely right. So don't forget, 16:50 Central European summertime, 15:50 British summertime, 14:50 Greenwich Mean Time. That is when we will start our build-up to qualifying with first the GT-AMs, then LMP2, and then Hypercar. Toyota Gazoo Racing from Cadillac and Hertz Team Jota, the top cars in the Hypercar class. WRT in LMP2, chased by Vector Sport and United's number 22 car, and then United's number 23 car, and in the GTE Pro, Iron Lynx on top of the pile in the Porsche D-Station with their Aston Martin ahead of the best of the Porsches, and that was the 83 car that was the fastest in GTE AM before it had its little excursion into the gravel at the hands of Lila Wadu. So 38-car field, 14 cars in LMP1 in Le Mans 2015. It was the last time we had a bigger field than we've got today. And when we get to Le Mans this year, the top class will have more cars than that. There will be another Cadillac, there'll be another Glickenhaus, and we will see exactly what else is coming in the years to come.
If you like your Le Mans news, do keep an eye on social media and the news sites later this evening, because you'll see the other additional car, the additional Porsche, and something very special to be unveiled here at Spa this evening.
And don't forget, as we progress into next season, we know for certain that BMW will arrive with their hypercars, as will Lamborghini, Isotta Fraschini, and who knows what else. We'll see you for qualifying this afternoon.